I tongue in cheek say, why can't they just sit there, right? You don't want them to just sit there, but you want them to be able to engage actively and proactively, and as you say, respectfully and kindly in your class, right? So what is it that gets us there? Whole bunch of stuff. I always tip my hat to the American Federation of Teachers for this. They sent me, when I was in Hartford, I was a member of the Hartford Federation of Teachers, and I was sent to national training. And this is part of that. I was able to then come back and support teachers in Hartford and helping them become better with their students and making their lives easier too, that's where I live. If I can help any teacher help their students and make the teacher's life easier, that's the best for me, because I truly enjoyed teaching. And this yeah, you can all throw things, but we're on Zoom, so it won't hit me. But I did just retire. 35 years. I retired June 11th from CREC as a dean of students. And I really liked what I did. I didn't retire because I had enough and had to get out. It was 35 years, and I'm a little old to be chasing 15-year-olds. And even though I liked that work and working with the families and all, I'm not young. But it was a great way to spend my life. And one of the reasons is because I was helped, I was supported, I had mentors, I went to trainings, I was sent to trainings, I brought things back. And that's what I want to be able to help other people with, because people helped me with it too. This is my email address. You'll see it at the end too. At the end of this, if there's anything that you want, that you see, it's nothing earth-shattering, but if there's something you want, or you have questions or whatever, you can use this email and email me. I will be available to you. Some people take me up on that afterwards, and it's an honest offer, and I won't blow you off. As long as I see the email, I will get back to you. This is a bit about me. You heard a little bit. You can just take a look at the slide. I was in the classroom 27 years. And I don't say that as like a badge of honor. I say that because I'm working with almost all of you are classroom teachers. Some of you, I think someone was a 504 coordinator. But it matters that I was in the classroom as long as I was, because I loved it. And I had to develop all these skills in order to continue and be creative, be effective, connect with my students and my families. And I needed these skills. Some of them we're going to talk about tonight. I was an instructional coach, which is my favorite work. This and that is my favorite work. And I also was an interim assistant principal for a semester, and an interim principal for 6 weeks in the summer, and still didn't like that job. It's you're doing everything. You're hiring, you're ordering chairs. It was just, classroom is my home, and now helping teachers in the classroom is my secondary home. Here's the why. Take a look at this. Which one of these rings most true to you? You can either come off mute and say it out loud, or you can put it in the chat. Which one of these rings true? So a teacher can teach, students can learn. Yeah, number 3. It's for real, right? I mean, you are the conductor of this orchestra, and you need to really make that room as effective as possible, but you can't do it alone. A welcoming, controlled, welcoming environment. Nice. All of it. Truth, right? The why, the reason I do the why is for myself. What's this work doing? I mean, it's not just because I want to make my life easier. As a matter of fact, I was going to put up one of my signs that I had in my room for years. Everything in here is for you. Put up the sign. And whenever I would do anything, from going over to the norms, the expectations, developing the social contract, assigning homework, great, I would tell them, every single thing I do in this room is for you. There's nothing I do just to make my life easier. And I would say, however, when our class goes that well, and you're doing well, and you are, we're engaging in the work, and we're learning and possibly enjoying ourselves, my life is easier. But Everything I do is intentional and for the students. So for this one, again, this is what I needed. I needed a place where they can thrive. I don't want to survive in the classroom. I want to thrive in the classroom. And not every year I did, but most I did. And it was, again, all the help I got, all the learnings I did, all the things I tried to put into play. And to try to keep your classroom positive, someone wrote that in the chat. Who doesn't want a positive environment? What student comes in to be negative? And if they do come in a negative space, it's not because they woke up and said, I'm going to be the biggest jerk kid I can be. Something's up. It's the same thing with parents. Like, I firmly believe every teacher, every parent, every kid does the best they can. Now, that might sound a little trite because it's like, well, the mother did X, the father did this, the guardian did this, the kid did this. Nobody gets up and says, I'm going to be a horrible parent today, or I'm going to go in and teach that class the worst way I possibly. Nobody does that. So when you start to look at this, and I used to tell my my teachers and colleagues and whoever else, is if you don't see a diamond in every kid, or a rose, or whatever you would like to put inside that child, in every single child, that's hard. It might be a problem, but it's hard because it's there. And some, you just got to do a lot more work to get that out there. Right? You just have to. And it's actually, and you probably already know this, and if we were in person, I'd have you do a little more back and forth, but you already know this. That's why you do the job you do. So here are some of the pieces that I have found through, and these are research-based as well, but they're in my practice too. These are the things. You must have clear expectations. If you don't, how can anyone follow what they don't understand? If they don't understand what the expectation is, they cannot follow it. It'll be luck if they do. The second one is the key for me, and it's a bigger piece, part of a larger plan. Have your own classroom restorative consequences. If you just take the student into the hallway, which is sometimes valid, or just talk to them at their desk or in part of the room, and it works, it's beautiful, and the kid, oh, I'm sorry, Gladys says, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lachak. Yeah, no, I got that. Yeah, okay. And everything's fine. That's great. But if a student who has struggles with this, and all you do is talk to them on the side, he's 15 or 6 or 11, and they go, yeah, I got away with it again. If you have some kind of restorative consequence where the student has to go out of their way just a bit to come see you at some point, and again, I'll get into some of these later, is they have to address the issue with you. And that was one of the keys for me, because I'm not going to, and I don't mean to sound hard, I'm not going to reason or with a 15-year-old every time something goes wrong, because they're going to win because they're 15, and all they're going to do is they're going to like, yeah, I got him. So that's the deal, right? You want to have that. Initiate and maintain parent contact. I'm going to tell you something, and I will definitely say this again before we go, is the best use of 2 to 5 hours, usually closer to 2 or 3 hours over the course of the first 2 weeks of school. I called every single parent. Now, remember, I was not an elementary school teacher. I was a high school teacher. 20 years high school, 8th grade for 6, 7th and 8th for 1. And I loved them though. But so I would be calling upwards from 75 to 125 parents, right? I called, I would introduce myself. And for you young ones, how's this one? I was going to I'll give you my email. We didn't have email when I first started teaching. It was 1989. We had, I would tell them the open house date, give them the school phone number, maybe invite them into class, tell them something wonderful about their child and how excited I was. And that was a huge difference. Because then if I had to make a corrective phone call later, they'd be like, oh, it's Mr. Lachak, the one who cared to call just to say hello. Yes, Mr. Lachak, what can I do for you? Not, who are you again? What class do you? Oh, God, what do you do? Yeah, oh yeah, no. I'll tell you, initiating and maintaining parent contact. Whenever I had to make a corrective phone call, right? I had to call Linda's mom, and then I would make 2 to 3 other phone calls, positive phone calls, not just because I wanted to create that culture in my class and have them know I cared enough to say the good stuff, for my own mental well-being. I'm not going home with the corrective phone calls rattling around my head going, oh my God, and then tomorrow he's going to be mad because his parents are going to, no, it's all about support. So having clear expectations, have your own classroom restorative consequences, initiate, maintain parent contact, work with admin. I used to meet with it became a joke at one of my schools because I taught eighth grade for 6 years, same administrator, same assistant principal. And I'd say, can we meet before school starts? And she goes, you mean about your plan again? I said, yes. She goes, I know. I said, I understand. But I had my classroom management plan and I would meet and share what I do. So when something happened, they would know exactly what steps I've already taken and know what I need from them. Right. If your administration doesn't know what you're doing, it's very hard to support you. I will say that as a dean of students, because I was an administrator my last 5 years. And I try to support teachers as much as I possibly could. But when you don't know what they're doing in the room and a kid comes and tells you a story and you not really know, of course, you don't just believe the kids straight off. They're kids and, they have their perspective. But if I don't know that you went through those 3 or 4 steps that the other teacher who already I know she does, I don't know. I have to kind of investigate from the get-go, right? So if you work with your administrators, yes, it has to be district approved, what you do, school approved, that you can do whatever you're doing, whether it's positives, negatives, and all these things you're doing and what consequences, rules you're going to have, expectations. And then let them know what you need because they're going to appreciate that. And the last one is students must interact with you. I don't know how many of you had this, but I don't care about you. I know Mr. Lotrick, dean of students. I like him. I don't care about you. I'm not going to do what you say. Well, that doesn't play out because they're going to have to be in Miss Leon's class for the rest of the year. So you want to work with that. You want to make sure that, hey, it's you and me doing this. So let's work through this, right? So these 5 things I find are kind of benchmarks, right? Clear expectations, classroom restorative consequences, parent contact, initiate and maintain it. And it sounds like a headache and some people are terrified to call home. I'm telling you, it took all of this potential negative weight off that may happen later because it almost never did. I was very good with parents and that's one reason why. Work with admin and then the students interact with you. Any questions either in the chat or again, feel free to come off the chat and say something because it's lonely here in Tolland. Questions, comments about any of those 5?
I just want to say, Gary, that I just love what you raised up about making those positive phone calls because I've always heard about making the positive phone calls for the students and to build good relationships. It's easier to work through problems when you already have a positive place to start from. But I never thought about it in terms of being really formative for your own mental health as a a practitioner that engaging in things that are positive and joyful, even if you've had a bad day or you had to have a difficult conversation, is a really good switch for your mind to bring yourself to a better place. So I love that attention to yourself too.
And I think that's key. Thanks for highlighting that because it absolutely is key. It's when you're teaching, what's the research say? You make something like 2,000 to 3,000 decisions a day, and you're interacting. It's a stressful place to be. As I say, it's a joyful place to be when you can get all these behind you. So yeah, you want to make sure you stay on top of your game. You don't want to go in going, oh my God, period 4 again today. No. Period 4. Woohoo! Let's do this. So as much as you possibly can do that. Good question. What do you mean by having students interact with you? I'm constantly walking around the room, assisting and conversing, and that is, no. So what I mean regarding that, thank you for asking, I'll clarify. When things don't go right? When a student makes a choice, doesn't live up to an expectation, some people they don't have the plan and they're like, oh gosh, go see the dean of students. And then all of a sudden you have given your issue and student away to someone else. So you've lost the connection with that student potentially. Whereas if you can have them say, and again, I'll show you what I mean by the plan. It's a simple, one of my pieces, what I used to do is it's a simple warning system. And so if Jenny's doing something and she gets a warning, that's just a warning. She gets 2. She got to see me for, ready for this, 2 minutes after school because we just want to talk through it, right? I don't want to send her somewhere else unless I absolutely have to. And if I do, I still want to bring it back to her, to Jenny and me, the student and me, right? We are the ones who are in the room together forever. for the rest of the year or the semester or whatever your class is, right? If I hand it off, one, it's not mine anymore, right? So then you can't really do the, well, how come you didn't do X, Y, and Z? Well, you gave it to the dean, you gave it to the administrator, you gave it to the AP. I want to work with you and support you, but you can't tell me what to do now, right? And that's not a negative. It's how do we do this as a team? Because what's the goal? Goal is that student stays in class, and the goal is that student is effective and learning, right? Hopefully enjoying it, but at least being safe and learning, right? I used to tell students from the get-go, I said, because I had this plan, and the plan I used, I said, if you ever have to leave my room, you better duck and cover because you did it wrong. Because if you leave this room, I can't teach you and you can't learn. And that's the only reason we're here, is for me to teach you and you to learn. Recess is great. Lunch is great. Hallway is great. Friends are great. Social media is great. And then when your friends outside, but that's the only reason we're here. And I take it very seriously. So if you have to leave this room, you and I are going to have a talk, because that's not what we want. I don't want you out of my room. In the chat. Oh, good. I like this. Thank you for throwing stuff in there. There you go. Yeah, well, negative. I started using the word corrective because it truly is. Again, nobody's trying it. If the student has something going on and comes at law track and says, law track, I'm not, whoa, okay, let's, I mean, it's not acceptable. You can't do that, but we need to work through this. And when you develop these, I changed, and correct, when I was working with correct, we used to use the word, creating relationships with students, right? And then Dana Turnquist, who's fantastic with restorative practices and these wonderful things at correct, said it's more about connection, because a relationship can go sour, can break, can be manipulated, can be all these things, versus connection. So if I say to Dina, hey Dina, what'd you do last night? I played soccer. I dance, or well, actually, I cook, and I cook for the family. I'm making connections. Dina knows I care about her a little bit, just to ask. Just talk about where the comma goes in first drafts, right? It's making those connections, right? Oh yes, Lori, you are not kidding about 300 kids. If you're teaching the whole school as a music teacher, art teacher, phys ed teacher, and all that, you might want to, well, actually, I'm going to tell you how I cheat, because I was a dean of students of a school with 500 plus students. And the last year I taught, I had 160 freshmen. I didn't know all their names even by January. And I hated that. I wanted to know them. And I would call homes and know that, but I'd call home sometimes, and I'm calling home going, I don't even know what your kid looks like, and I'm supposed to say something positive. That doesn't work for me. So I would go out and be at lunch when they punch the number in and see their name and run back and make a phone call. Hey, your daughter's great. Yeah, Ms. Peterson, everything's fantastic. Or when I see something go a little bit twinky, I'm like, oh, that Ann, she's gonna be a handful. I would call Ann's home for the first positive phone call. So it's a little, it's cheating. That's what I call it. It's just cheating. It's not manipulation. It's cheating. I could not get 160 kids by name with phone calls and a personal connection to tell their parents in the first half of the year. And I think I even missed some by the end of the year, but I really worked hard at it. And that's me as a dean of students, not teaching. So you got to give yourself some grace. But you're right. As far as engaging parents, if we have time towards the end when we do our interactions and all that, maybe some development of things, if we have time, bring that back up again, because I'd love to hear what other people do to engage parents. I am a huge phone caller, not an emailer. I cannot tell you how many email disputes I've had to mediate because a teacher says something to a parent and it's not awful, but who reads email? Everyone. How do they read it? From their own perspective. When you have a sentence, you said, what about my kid? I'm like, oh, whoa, whoa. And if you'd made the phone call, you could have said, oh, no, ma'am. Oh, no. What I meant was she's truly a strong, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yes.
Hey, Gary, I just wanted to say, and again, I'm not sure if it's an idea that would work, but even something like if you did a survey to all of your students, saying that you are going to be trying to incorporate like music from all different cultures and asking them who they were, where they come from, if they have any traditions or things like that. Even something like that, I think although you're not personally interacting with them, you're asking about what's important to them and their values and their community and who they are and where they come from. And I think people like to even be asked that. And that's just a really nice way to sort of invite people. And I get it. You would have to follow through with that and want to do sort of different culturally responsive lessons and things like that. But
Mhm.
it's such a nice thing for people to know that you care and you're interested and you're trying to personalize the experience for these kids and who they are.
Yes,
Just an
I love
idea.
that. Yeah, no, I was just writing a note down. Love that. Stealing it. Um, so what I would like you to do is this slide right now, some keys to classroom management. Which one do you want to know more about? And again, I don't mean to imply that you're weak at it, that it's not strong, that it's a problem for you. But which one of these things, you could either use the boldface or even the bulleted points. Which do you need most for your practice from this slide? Management plan. Okay. Yep. Consequences management plan. I better at. Okay. So, Jen, this is the ironic part. See, when Jen and I were talking about this workshop and having it like a webinar and a little bit more presenting, but so people didn't have to drive and come at the beginning of the year, because she knows that's a really challenging thing. It's really hard to do one of the things that really works in the in-person workshop is I model my plan. Not that my plan is the be all and end all, but you can see how I do it. We'll get to some variation of that, but it will not be the same. But I will show you the plan that I use, and I will give you the warnings that it's just because it's a sheet of paper and Lawchuck talks about it for 10 minutes does not. Oh, I've got it now. It's there's a lot to it, which is why I say there's not a training. It's just a workshop. So let's play on then. Let's continue. Okay. How many of you, and do you know how to use the hand raising function? Because I know most cameras are not on, and I really want to make sure you're engaged, not because I'm checking up on you, because I'm doing all this talking and it's not usually my style. Couldn't tell, could you? The hand raising function, you put, let's see, it's down below on your menu, react, and you go raise hand, whee, and then you can lower hand. Boom. How many of you do some variation of a social contract with your classes? So if your camera's on, there's a couple of you are, you can actually raise your hand. Or okay, and is it Rebecca? Love that name. Dina.
Yes.
Love it. Anybody else? Okay. Do one of you want to say something about your social contract? Put you on the spot just a hair? Like, how do you do it, and what do you do with it? I'll count to 6. If you don't say it, I'll just jump into my stuff. Oh, it's Linda, right? Yeah, Linda, that's a great point. That's a great point. I think that's to everybody. As a paraeducator, she doesn't have the control of that. Let me ask you something, Linda. Is it ever like a co-teaching environment, or not really? You just do maybe you're one-to-one. I don't even know, because that's a very good point.
So I am usually with the same teachers throughout the day. I have a different block as a different teacher though. And I also get pulled a lot, but when it comes to the classroom structure, I aim to support whatever the teacher sets up for their room.
Mm,
And if it's not set up already, I'm not at liberty to set it up.
right. Yeah. And you know what? That's a very difficult place to be too, because
Yeah.
it can be great and it can be, well, the kid just ignored me and the teacher didn't say anything. And now I'm in a spot because what do I do? And you can't really have your own, like, when I said classroom restorative consequences, you can have your connections with kids for sure, and I'm sure you do, but you can't really issue a classroom consequence unless it's part of the plan that the teacher has with all the students and the class, and you're part of that. So yeah, that's a very good point to bring up. So social contracts, I did them, didn't do them, did them again. I love parts of it. It's really how you want to be treated in class as much as you can, involving students in the creation of your class, of your environment, and of your culture. Do it, because not only is there more buy-in, but students can do and want to be involved in more than we think they can. And that took me a long time to realize that I wasn't their saving grace, that I have all the answers, even if it's not academic. When you follow me and I will, well, hold on, Law Track, we got some stuff here. Here's one way to do a social contract. You can have them fill out, how do students want to treat students and be treated by other students? What's the relationship and the connection of student and teacher and student? And I highlight that one big time. I say to them, what do you want? How do you want the teacher to treat you? And I also include, what do you want them never to do? And invariably I say, I don't want the teacher to yell at me. I don't want the teacher to embarrass me in front of people. And then our space. So you can do this. I was going to have us put together a little bit of something, but I'm not sure that will work with the dynamic here with the online piece. But you can even just jump in with a flip chart paper. How do we want to treat each other in here? And I usually let kids think first. It's usually like a think, pair, share, because otherwise some kids don't get a chance to really contemplate, well, what do I want, right? So you have them think individually, maybe share with a partner or jot it down, and then share it together, and boom, and then you all agree on it. What do you want to do? How do you want to treat each other here? And they usually talk about respect, and you have to define that. What does that mean? Is it listening to each other? Right, boom, boom, boom. Then I would have one of the students, whether depending on the grade level, you might do it as an in-class activity, or they take it home, and make a poster out of it, bring it back in. Everyone signs it because we are going to agree with it, and we do agree with it. And then you put it on the wall, and don't forget it. You want to make sure anything you have for expectations, social contract, anything is a living document. The same as every other teacher in the world. If you put up a bulletin board and leave it there for 3 weeks, after the third week, nobody's paying attention to it. They're walking right by it. It might be beautiful, might be fantastic. They're walking by it. It's got to be a living document. It doesn't mean you have to change the social contract. It means you say once a week, okay, Amanda, you're our norm checker. Amanda, would you go take the class through the social contract? How are we doing with that? Are we following our social contract? And then you do a thumbs up, thumbs down, or fist to 5. No, we're only a 3 because people talk when other people are talking, and have them engage with it so it stays real. Not just, hey, that's on a social contract, you're breaking that, which is one way to use it, but let them see it, relive it, and understand that this is really something important to us. This was not a fun activity at the beginning of the year to say, oh, kids are involved. Use it and live with it. Any comments, questions about that? Okay. School already started. Some of you may be saying, well, that's great, Lautrec. Where were you in August? And the answer was Italy, but I don't want to talk about that now. You can reset anytime you want. If you are a veteran teacher, you know this. If you're just getting into it, you might be a little like, it might be a little more challenging, but here are some phrases that I have used and other teachers have used because it's not working. Right? So you have your whatever set up now, and you've got some kids still popping off, and they're doing things incorrectly, and they're not following the expectations. So you can set it up. If you want to try a social contract now, tomorrow or Monday, here we go. We need to reset in this class a bit. I want the best from each and every one of you. We need to step back and look at how we interact with each other, whatever the issue may be, right? I want this class to be more of a community of learners, and this will help us do that. I was big on verbiage because I used to script everything when I was brand new. I used to actually script my lessons virtually because I didn't want to mess up. And then, so some of the important pieces I use, like the management plans, I still script things and practice them. And here's just the reasons for for doing a social contract. This does not preclude misbehaviors and not following expectations, but it's an avenue for student voice. It's an avenue for involvement by students. It's collaboration. It is not just Miss Peterson's class, right? It's our class. Yes, Miss Peterson is the conductor of the orchestra, as it were, art, music, whatever. But truly, you are the conductor of your orchestra in your class, right? And you have to do what you can to get them to play those instruments and make that song sound great. So, and it connects you. So, norms, you can have non-negotiables, okay? Whatever you do for social contract, maybe we do for students input, which is valid and it's going to be real. If it's not real and you go, oh, that's nice, but we're going to do it this way, don't bother doing it. It's almost worse doing that than laying it out hard. Okay. But non-negotiables, you can have those. You are in charge. It is not a democracy, much to the chagrin of some of my former high school students. I would say it's a benevolent dictatorship because we're not going to vote on if we're going to learn today. Oh, let's take a vote. Are we going to do anything today? No, we don't get that option, right? So I've got your best intentions in my mind always. Everything in here is for you, but I need some things to happen. They're just going to, right? And so these are some examples of non-negotiables. And then this was Lovely Billups, found an ER&D program where I was trained that you can't teach or learn in chaos. And I don't want to have that be confused with an active room. I love an active room. I like a loud room as long as it's productively loud. I like a room where there's interaction, right? But chaos is different. Chaos is they're under the desks and they're throwing books and they're not doing what they got to do. And three of them are on their phones in the corner and you know the rest. I like this cartoon. Yeah. So we talk about responsibilities. And you know what? I'm going to take a pause here because I really am not used to talking this much in any kind of workshop and all that. Either in the chat, because I have no idea if most of you are still even there. You might be having a cheeseburger and coming back to the room and, oh, he's still there. It's fantastic. But if you would please either come off mute or just in the chat. What are you thinking right now? What do you need or what is working? What are you thinking? What do you need or what is working? I wish I had the Jeopardy theme song. All right, nobody?
Yes, I'm right here.
Lisa, go.
Good evening, everyone. I think we need, I work in the self-contained classroom with the kids in the spectrum. So we really need more staff. Definitely, it is a cost in a classroom. And as you stated, we cannot learn, we cannot teach in an environment like that. Nobody's safe, not even the kids. I think we definitely need more staff in our classroom.
Staff, I wish I could wave my magic wand, but you know, one of my things when I read this, I was just, yeah, exactly. Thank you for highlighting that. We are the only industrialized nation that funds our public schools with local property taxes. So yeah, understaffed is no joke. When I was in Hartford, yes, I will say, correct. Sorry, we used to call them the evil empire from Hartford, but they really do have good resources. And if you're all good at the end, I'll tell you how many resources we had in my building alone. You'd be shocked, but you're not wrong. And that's why when I was in Hartford, again, it was 30 years. It wasn't like I had all these resources all the time. But what we can get to, and maybe I'll do a little jumping ahead, is what can you do even without that? Because I would love to give you more staff, and who wouldn't want more staff, and who wouldn't want a class of in a normal general ed class of 16 to 18 max, you know, and it's very rare. It's very rare. Can Communication, no surprises in staff quantity. Yeah. Yep. So feeling you're not heard, that's an issue. And it might be not intentional. Again, I don't know your situations, and I don't really want to get into, like, school, this, that, and the other thing. However, if in your building, if there's a way to again, connecting with your administrator, but what you're talking about are systemic issues. Those are huge. Communication within the building, no. And other than asking for more and using your union representation to be a conduit and saying, look, teachers want to know, again, you don't get to know everything. I will say that. I learned this when I was a dean of students, right? You might want to know, that kid got suspended for how many days and what did he do? That's, sorry, unless that student is yours and you're involved, it's not your business. However, knowing that you're safe, that there was an issue, it has been handled, the student has a consequence, and we will, when a student comes back, there'll be a reentry and a et cetera, et cetera. That's valid. So we did a lot with my old administration as dean of students, was wide open, like door open, literally and figuratively. Come in anytime and ask the principal, boom, boom, boom. It wasn't necessarily the most effective method because he was always getting bombarded, but staff felt supported in communication, right? Now, some people don't feel that way. And so I don't have a clear answer for you there. I will say, if you as an individual can connect, that might help, but that doesn't answer or solve the issue you just put in there. So, and on Jen, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, because that's a monster issue. That is a union
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, it's a systemic issue, and of course, right now it's sort of even more profound with districts cutting back in a lot of ways because the ESSER funding has dried up. And now there are, even less paraeducators and stuff in the classroom. It's something that we're looking at even at a state level, how to have enough. We don't have enough staff. We actually don't have enough people. Even if we had enough money to pay everybody, we actually don't have enough staff. So we're looking at trying to be creative. We're looking at trying to make sure that all of you guys, all of our all of our teachers, all of our paraeducators have all of the training that you need, so that you have as much under your belt to be able to deal with the situations that you're in. But we need smaller class sizes, and I'm one of the people who thinks that we need to advocate for a legislative solution to that, because my experience is that we only pay for things that are required. And we're just going to continue to not do right by these kids unless we put our foot down. But let me see, I see more comments here in the chat. I'll just read that. We talked about communication. How are we expected to teach the kids to behave when they're not taught at home? We do not have consistent consequences. How do I start to communicate as I am having some trouble with a student, but I won't get any support? Because I am calling for a behavior tech or someone similar. I don't want it to get to that level. However, I want to be clear about the expectations in the room. I need to know the students are supported with things such as mental health, and these might be contributing to the behaviors. I mean, absolutely. And I mean, and I applaud you for recognizing that all student behavior is communication. Right? Like, they are telling you something in their behaviors. They're not for nothing.
Right.
They are trying to communicate something to you. It's very difficult. One of the things I would say, and I know we have a lot of paras on here, and sometimes you feel out of control in terms of how the classroom is set up, and some of the classroom management plan and stuff that Gary's talking about. Those are things that are kind of the purview of maybe the classroom teacher, but you working individually with some of your students, you do build those sort of social contracts. You do have those discussions, and you do build those relationships one-on-one with the kids that you're working with. What behavior is acceptable to you? What kind of attitude or communication they're going to give you when they're having a hard time. I think that you can set some of those expectations as a professional with the student that you're working with. And that can be a little bit different than even what it looks like in the classroom, because like Gary said, you're the one who has to have the relationship with that student, even more so than often the classroom teacher in the front of the classroom. If you're a para, you are the closest person to the student.
And I love everything you just said. And someone made a comment where it's like, how do you make these kids accountable for the behaviors? And that's something that I feel I'm personally struggling with, is how do I, like, because it's like action, consequence, but it's like their accountability needs to, like, can I have some examples on what people are doing that's working? If that still goes with your flow of what you guys got going on right now, or
Well,
we can save it later.
yeah, no, I'm glad you're asking this. This is starting to feel better, because now I'm getting some, people are out there. I can hear you breathing. Why don't we do that? Because I've got some things to say for sure, because that is everybody's dilemma. Well, people who are having issues. I met one guy once. I taught in one district for a short time. I met one guy once with no rules, no consequences, no nothing. And his high school English students followed him like the Pied Piper. He was a poet. He was soft-spoken. He was, I couldn't do it. I was good at what I did. I could not have done it. So what are some of the it's Peterson is your last name. What's your first name?
My first name is Julia. Or
Julia.
Jake.
Thank you. Julia. Could someone, or does anyone have anything to offer Julia about what you do? Because I would love to hear this, so it's not just the Gary Lontrick show, as it were.
I just want to say something. I don't mean to interrupt. I would love to hear what other people have to say, but I just want to say that Gary and I had this whole discussion, and I said to him that 90% of the people who come to classroom management are looking for behavior management. Actually, do you know what I mean? And the whole point of this is that this is the foundation that you have to create, that then creates the playing field, creates the expectations. Students have a little skin in the game because they kind of put their money where their mouth was, and they engage in the process of deciding these rules and agreeing in front of everybody. There's a group responsibility, like all of that sets the groundwork for you to then be able to manage the behaviors when these things are not done well, or when there are bumps in the road. Sorry, I'll let Gary talk.
So does anybody have anything that works for them that they could share regarding what Julia just asked?
I mostly get the opportunity to pull a kid out into the hallway and talk to them privately. And I also try to remember to praise a little more publicly, but it's also iffy in the high school situation because praising aloud can sometimes embarrass a student too. So you have to know your student.
That's beautifully said. Beautifully said. So the one-on-one, right? Has anybody here or have you worked in your district about restorative practices at all? Because it gets a bad rap because of what sometimes happens or what people think it is. Has New Britain or Waterbury or any other districts working with restorative practices at all?
From my understanding, they worked on it with the teachers, but it did not make it to the level of the paraeducators.
Oh,
so everyone's not on the same page.
Yeah, you guys get the raw end. I used to do trainings in my school for paraeducators. I mean, that's good gosh. I will, let me see if I can find it right away. If I can find it right away, I'll do this. I don't want to have you sit there while I'm fumbling through files. Let's see. It's right here. Restorative practices. Questions.
While you're looking for that, Julia had asked, what's the difference between the two? I think you're asking what's the difference between classroom management and behavior management. And again, what I would say is behavior management is actually going to be, for the most part, more individualized. And that classroom management is sort of more of the like holistic, like these are I'm not gonna call them laws, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is our framework. This is our agreed upon way of existing with each other. And then managing behavior is you're not sort of like conforming to the agreed upon norms that we've all discussed. So I feel like managing behavior tends to be more of an individualized approach. Do you agree with that, Gary?
Yes, I do, because it's the way you manage the class. That's fantastic. How's that phone going? I don't even use my home phone. I didn't know where it was. There are the whole piece is you want to have the class be a community. You want to build a culture in the class, right? And yes, you have to work with individuals, as Jen just said. But the class as a whole ends up helping each other. And then those students who need more support, and that's the way I see it, because a lot of what is in the chat, there are a lot of ways to think about that, right? That, students didn't come to you with the same learnings about behaving, what you might call behavior or decorum, because they grew up differently. And I'm not talking about just cultural differences either. I'm talking about my kitchen table versus your kitchen table, right? If you want to say what respect means, when I was growing up, I didn't know we were disrespectful at the kitchen table by reaching across and grabbing something and everybody talking at once. That was our family. That's how we were. That was our in-home culture, right? You don't do that at the lunch table, or you don't do that in collaborative groups when everybody's talking at once and grabbing stuff, right? So a lot of it is you need to teach it instead of putting the lens on it that they don't know what I know and should know what I know. This is what we want in our classroom. We are going to all learn this together. We're going to all understand that your kitchen table, where people talk over each other, is your kitchen table. I'm not saying anything about it. That's not wrong. That's just your kitchen table. While Jen is answering a question and Amanda is interrupting her because she wants to talk, then nobody hears either one and the learning isn't happening, right? So a lot of this, like accountable for behaviors, restorative, and you don't want to be punitive. If you're looking for your pound of flesh, you got the wrong guy, because it's skill, not will. Students, for the most part, will, I'll use the word behave. I don't like the word so much anymore. They will behave. They will do the right thing if they know how, right? Consequences don't teach, much to our upbringing. Is like, oh, it taught me. Well, no, it taught you not to do it again, and it taught you not to get caught doing it again, depending on who you were. But did it really teach you what that was all about? Why you're not talking when Amanda's talking? Oh, I get it now. Okay. So it's really, oh yeah, shared screen. Yeah. Where am I? What am I not sharing? Oh, I know why. Because I want to share this with you. Let's see. They don't want to see my face. I see how this goes. I see what's happening. Didn't share the right thing, did it? Let's see. I want to share this. You're seeing the PowerPoint, you're not seeing the restorative questions. Is that correct?
Right now, we're seeing a lot of things, but mostly seeing the decorum, manners, and just playing with how
Oh,
to
okay.
act
I know what I
things.
did. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing because now I'm a mess. Because what I wanted to do. Come on now. Okay. Let me start again. I want to show you this one sheet, if I can. All right. Can you tell me what you're seeing now?
Resource page for positive.
Beautiful.
And
restorative interactions with students. We're seeing that? Good. Okay. When you're talking about restoration, again, this is a whole study. And I'm not going to attempt to take a stab at it, but two things about restorative practices. The word restore means you're restoring. You have to have something to restore back to. If you have not developed a class culture, if you are just saying, do what I say, and again, that's not even the worst, right? I mean, you can be a teacher who isn't 100%, tremendously engaging and still have students follow you and learn, But what you want really is an environment where every student thrives. Culturally responsive teaching is a part of that too. You do not want to shortchange anyone in your room. And that is not, culturally responsive teaching does not, no, I don't say does not, helps every single person in that room, no matter where you are. Okay. So you want to restore to something. So what is it? What are you restoring to? Well, hopefully you have an environment where kids are trusting and they're building that community. And when someone goes left and they're supposed to go right, there are ways to bring them back. These are the three biggest, most important questions. We use them all the time. What is the problem? How do we fix it? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Why is it a problem and what do we need to do? And how do we fix it? Right? So you're not chastising and punishing, and that's the end of it. That you are just telling them it's wrong. What you did was wrong, and you can't do it again. Sometimes it's quick and easy like that, but when a student is having a real issue, when they come after for those 2 minutes, and you say, "Okay, so what's the problem?" Well, I was just talking to Jen, and she was just okay. But what was the issue with that? Well, because Jenny was talking and she was answering a question. Right, exactly. Or we were silent reading, or we were in writing workshop, and Brenda Lee didn't, even get to hear what we were saying. And then, okay, so what do you need to do? Well, I mean, sometimes it's like, I could apologize to the class. Like, I mean, if you want to, but really, what do we do tomorrow? Well, I have to make sure I'm aware that I don't talk when people are talking, or writing when we're supposed to be writing, etc. So you're restoring it back. There is that little consequence. Keeping that student after for a half hour, having to sit down silently and write down, "I will not talk" 100 times, isn't going to teach them. It's going to maybe have them hate your class. It's going to have them maybe not do it tomorrow because, oh my gosh, but do they really understand why? And I don't mean to sound too like, oh, everybody's, but it's real. And as a dean of students, in addition to a teacher, I've watched this play out, and students who really had trouble understanding why they're doing what they're doing, it's not 100% and not every kid and not all the time, but it's a process. And then they start to trust you, and they start to say, well, Miss Dina, I need help with this because I did it again. And then can we have a signal? Can we do something like that? Right? You're working with the students. Oh, what is this? Oh, I like this. You get jinxed and you overconfidence from praise. I used to have one student I'd call home and they'd mess up the next day every single time. Positive phone call home, and they mess up every single time. Okay, so let's do this.
I was just going to say, Gary, I think that one of the points of the restorative practice is again, instead of sort of telling the kid what they did wrong, you're sort of in a Socratic method kind of way, getting them to think about what they did, what the effect was, going through sort of the executive functioning process of how does my behavior affect things, so that hopefully next time they go through that similar process before they actually act. Right. And in a lot of ways, what you're doing when you're setting up classroom management, you're creating a community and norming, right? And part of the reason that we do this work is not just because it makes our classroom more functional for teaching kids, it is also a model for students on how to exist in the world, right? To how to be part of a community, how to have some group accountability. Our laws aren't really much of anything except that we would prefer not to go around punching each other. We've all kind of decided that's not the world we want to live in. So, I think part of this is that you're teaching kids life skills in a lot of ways about how to think about their behavior and how they affect the world and how we want to be in relation to each other when you're doing this work. And in high school, it's such a formative age. They don't have the impulse control yet. They still don't have the executive functioning to think before they speak. And when we take them through these thought processes, you're actually strengthening their thinking skills.
Yep. So I think I will do this. there's a few slides here I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on because I know we want me to get to, and I'll hope that the online version of showing you the plan I have does something, at least stirs something, and maybe get you started. And then, as Jen and I talked about, we will do in-person follow-ups. And if several of you say, "Oh yeah, I want one," and next week or whatever, maybe Jen and I, whatever, Jen and I will talk. We want to be responsive to your needs. This is not just a one. I don't like one-offs. One-offs are great if you grab something and you can use it, and that's all you needed. But otherwise, it's like, "Hey, that was great. What was that thing again?" So I don't want to do that to you or to anyone. Quickly about responsibilities, and it goes exactly to what Jen was just saying, is make sure students know their responsibilities. Something as simple as a responsibility pledge, which I put on the wall, we recite, they keep in their notebooks, is, oh, I don't know my homework, but it's not my fault. Whoa, hold on. Jenny, I'm not talking about fault. I'm talking about responsibility. Whose responsibility is that? Oh, mine. Okay, so let's just make sure next time we got it. Boom. Okay, bam. Because you cannot hold their hands. I mean, if you're an elementary school teacher, you might literally hold their hands, but you want to make sure you're making them independent, right? Something else is class jobs or responsibilities. Do people already do these things? Does anybody have class jobs or responsibilities that actually mean something in your class? And I don't mean to demean it like that, but I mean like they're actual real jobs, kids do stuff. Okay. I started doing this a long time ago because, as I said earlier, students can do far more than we think they can. They are so much more capable. And if you hand the class to them in any given way, it's more than likely going to be more effective. Yes, you have to set up the parameters. Yes, you have to give them direction. Yes, you have to support them. But I had greeters who would greet at the door, although I don't do that anymore, or didn't do it at the end because I wanted to greet them. Part of a greeting at the door, and if you don't do this now, do the best you can to do that. Because sometimes you're closing up the lab and you got like, oh my God, I got to pull out stuff wait before the next class comes in, or the collaborative tables have to be switched back and the kids didn't do everything. I get it, but as much as you possibly can, excuse me, because you will circumvent potential negatives, right? So Amanda comes in and she's got her head down and just walks right by. Whoa, Amanda, you okay? Yeah. Come here. And you take Amanda aside. You okay? No, my mom and da, da, da. So just that action, she could have sat down, didn't do any work, got her first warning, got another one, and then looks up and goes, "I'm not taking it." Whoa. Just checking in at the door does that. As a dean of students, I met every kid at the door from the buses. I saw every face, unless they were late to school, every face when they came in, and there'd be social workers who did it with me too. We would do things like, hey, Rose walks by and just, I was like, hey, Joel, one of the social workers, hey, Joel, check on Rose. And boom, we would check on Rose before school even started, right? So if you can do that, great. Anyway, the jobs, greeters, class captains. I would leave students, I would have 3 class captains, 2 who were tremendously responsible and fantastic, and 1 who would have messed it up if given the chance, right? Because he or she or they're just that kid, right? Just and they would help run class, certain specific things you can design yourself. But when I was out, if I knew I was going to a workshop, if I knew I was going to be out, I would give the lesson plans to the 3 class captains, leave them for the sub, leave a note that the class captains will come introduce themselves and run the class, right? The students in the class knew already too. And people didn't work beautifully every time, but it sure did most of the time. And subs would say to me, I love subbing for you because I don't have to do anything. I sit back and the kids handle it. And for the most part, they would do that. And the ironic part that just I love, the kid who would have potentially messed it up, he's the one or she's the one who comes up to me and goes, "You should have seen yesterday, mister. They weren't listening and they were just doing stuff." And I'm like, oh, really? Isn't that shocking? But I would leave kids legitimately in charge. Attendance helper. They can't do it on the computer, but you have a kid come to you and you do attendance. However you do attendance, let a student or 2 students help. Homework assistant or homework assigner, I used to call them the givers of growth, whatever. They help you check homework, right? I never send a kid, even high school, I wouldn't send a kid around to check by themselves because I'm not putting a kid in that place. Because, there's Rebecca sitting there without the homework going, you better give me full credit. And like, I just put a kid in a horrible spot, right? So I would fall behind and just be in earshot. And they'd say, Gladys, did Rebecca have full, half, or 0? Oh, she's got full. Okay, boom. She got half, and go from there. Let them really be part of it. Keeper of the clock. Let someone be the timekeeper. And we used to do a timekeeper with, okay, give them 3 minutes, and 2 minutes, hit the bell and say 1 minute left, and then hit the bell twice after 3 minutes, bring them back. Keepers of decorum and kindness keeper. I love this job. I would have one in each corner of the room. And I usually had my desk in a circle or a rectangle, and we'd move it for collaborative teams or inquiry-based stations, that kind of thing. But I would use that because it was a great buffer. The class gets a little and instead of saying, everybody quiet down, or Anne, would you please stop? Or, Anne's sick of hearing her name because she's chatty like Lautrec, and she just, she chats. So we just have to say, man. So I would do this. Deans of decorum, do your job. In effect, I'm telling everyone to quiet down, but I'm not. I'm telling the class job to make sure they do their job. And they would take it seriously enough to go, hey guys, shh, shh, shh. So then it was a nice, easy way to get that done, right? And I would fire kids from jobs. If the dean of decorum kept chatting when he wasn't supposed to, or didn't have their stuff on the desk and they're supposed to help kids get ready like that, then I'd say, hey, come here, you're fired. Maybe you can get the job again, but right now you got to make sure you take care of yourself first, right? Any kind of jobs, make fun names out of them, give them descriptions, teach them how to do the jobs, give the jobs for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time so they get used to it and more people can share. Pair up jobs, but make sure they're real. Don't have the eraser chewer. When we chew erasers, you're in charge of that job. It's got to be real. And I used to have more jobs and I stopped because I said, this job doesn't do anything. And the kids are like, yeah, I was like, 2 weeks and I passed out papers once or whatever it was, right? Any questions on jobs? Or if you want to throw in jobs you've used into the chat, go ahead. So questions about jobs and responsibilities or jobs you've used. This is so strange for me. Jen's like, he's going to blow up, isn't he? I don't mean negatively, but just like my energy level's like, I'm sitting down. All right. What do you think about jobs? Yes, no, too much? Is it silly? Is it? Oh, all right. Next. Love Zoom. All right. Okay. Other responsibilities. So I also have, and again, grade level matters, but I did this 7 through 12, class sign in, sign out logs. If they had to go to the bathroom, whatever, you might have one of those signals where they just do this, or you have whatever system you have, but they would come up and they would sign themselves out. And if you have a pass system, a written pass system, then they write the pass and I sign it. I'm not stopping teaching because you got to go to the bathroom. No offense, you can go to the bathroom, great, but you're going to sign out, you're going to time out, and you're going to sign in and time back in, right? There's a couple of reasons for this. One, I can't remember where kids are. I'll get a phone call and it'll say, yes, is Lisa there? And I'm looking around going, oh, geez. Hey guys, where's Lisa? Slachek, you just sent her to the nurse. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, she's at the nurse. So I can just look in here and know where she is. Secondly, if something happens, and I tell the kids this, that this is for your benefit too, because if the fire alarm gets pulled and they say, hey, was Emiliana in your classroom at 12 o'clock when the alarm got pulled? And I look here and it says she signed back in at 11:57. Yeah, she was in my classroom. She's good. And she's like, oh, I didn't pull it, but now they're not even questioning me. That's good. I don't want to know anything about it. I'm not in it. And the other thing is it keeps a record of how long they're out. And I would go over and look sometimes because they'd be out for 8 minutes. And I know it was long because I'm active like that. But they write down that they're only out for 4. And I told them, I said, you don't sign back in or you don't have the right time, you don't leave my classroom for a week. Okay. If you need to go to the bathroom, we'll get an escort for you, but this is your responsibility. And the other piece is it's an impediment to just leaving the room. Oh man, I got to fill out a pass, sign out, go do the thing. Forget it. I'll go next class if they really don't have to go. So for all these reasons, that's their responsibility, not mine. Because if you stop to write passes and sign kids out and do it, you're missing a lot of teaching time, and you don't want to do that to the students. Tardy to class logbook. So when my students came in late, they would sign in, right? And then whatever, I used to be very punitive, right? When I started teaching at Hartford High, 1989, And the tardy policy, because kids were tardy all the time. First time is just a warning because, hey, get here on time. Second time they're tardy is 15 minutes after school. Third time was 30 minutes after school. Fourth time was 45. I didn't play. And did it work? It was Machiavellian. It was too heavy. However, I will say no one was ever late to my class. I wouldn't do that again now, though. I really wouldn't, because what I would do is tell kids, meet with them. What's happening? Why are you late? Well, the hallways are crowded. I actually used to walk kids after school. I said, let's stay after school today. Let's walk from the gym to here and find the best way to do that so you're on time. You got to show you care, and you got to know, they have to know that this is not just a gotcha. This is when you're not in my room, you're not learning. I can't teach you. And I will say that it disturbs the class when you come in late and then you're asking what'd you miss, and you're talking to two people on the way in. You shouldn't, but it's we need you on time. I need your bright, shining, smiley face here as soon as that bell rings. I need you in, stuff out, ready to roll. Okay. What routines do any of you have that students handle in your class? Oh, and that's a great point. Thank you. I'm just looking at this. So, okay, hold on a second. I don't have experience with classroom jobs at high school. Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah, I used it in high school, and I used it everywhere. So interesting about the hoods. This is an equity issue for me. I'll say it, and you can chastise me in the chat. But as dean of students, I totally changed the dress code where we were with conversation. It wasn't just my one hand over. But most dress codes, if you do any kind of reading and research about this, are sexist and often racist. Right? Yes, it's well, can you go to work like that? Now you can go to work like that in a lot of jobs, right? Society's changing, but also what are we really saying? We had a girl who wore a bonnet. She was an African-American girl, and you couldn't have any headgear. This is 5 years ago. You couldn't have anything on your head unless it was for religious reasons, right? And she was a swimmer, and her mom came in, and they had the assistant principal, and her and her mom had a real conversation, because she says she swims. She's in a chlorinated pool 3 hours a day. If she does not condition her hair and cover her hair, or condition it and have the bonnet on, she will lose her hair, right? It was a real issue. And then so I started looking more into it. It's a respect factor for listening to people. Like, I don't like, when I was in the classroom, I needed to see your ears, and I need to know earbuds weren't in, because I was in the classroom just 6 years ago. Right? It wasn't forever ago, but it was pre-COVID. I will give you that. But if hoods are a rule, then you got to figure out how you're going to do that, right? We stopped doing that. It wasn't, students were still learning. Students were not listening. They weren't hiding out. We just got rid of it. Our dress code was so minimal, and it wasn't a problem. But some of the other things you said here is, jobs are great, especially with the kids seeking extra attention. Absolutely. Or the kids who are so not involved. Hey, pair up with Jen. Really? Okay. And Jen helps you become part of this culture, right? Refusing all expectations, or the other group that does. And what do you mean by that? Do you mind saying? And then the next thing you said was you have a pass system. Oh, I don't give passes to kids. They would be in a spot. They would either know where to get them, or I would give the pass, but they would do the filling out. Good point. You always have to work with what you have and what you're comfortable with. Don't do anything that you're not comfortable with, because then if it goes awry, you're like, what just happened? I have no idea what to do now. Okay, so this is, I'm not going to focus on this now. This is, again, it's important, but it is an entire study of its own, and an entire set of workshops on its own. If we choose to do that, I would be absolutely happy to be part of that if people wanted that. Just a couple slides there. Okay, I'm going to run through the positives, because I want to get to that, how I did my consequence piece. Again, it's not the silver bullet, but you want to hear it. I want to share that with you. Right? Creating a positive environment. Just take a look, seek it out, they're doing it well. So many of them are doing it well. Everyone does it well at certain times, some more than others, and the group as a whole does well, right? And can do well. Look for it. Just prepared awards. You know, first day of school, someone comes in, they got everything. I hand this out and give them. And if you're doing standards-based grading, things like that, giving points and all that is not appropriate. So what? It's once or twice. If you get in trouble, blame me. It's that Lautrec guy. Call him. This is one of my favorites. I will just tell you about this one. I cheat. This is the second time I'm a cheater. I fill out these generic notes with Sharpie on a piece of white paper. I copy them in the copier. So I have 60 of these 6 generic notes. I cut them. I take a Sharpie and write down every so often, or you can do it whenever you want. And I write down Anne, and Amanda, Linda, Rose. And then I attach a dumbbell, a lollipop, and it was ironic. I got dum-dums. I said, I feel so guilty giving my students dum-dums, or a pencil. And I just called them up in the class of 4 kids. I go, here you go. And they leave. I don't do anything else. Next day, sure enough, in comes Jen. How come I didn't get a note? Why didn't I get it? You'll get one. Just keep your business going. Gladys, you'll get one too. Don't worry about it. You got it. All right. But it's a quick way to do one of those handwritten notes. And only twice in my career, and I mean this, twice, kid goes like this. Kid goes, sees that it's a little short note, but then goes, hey, because the real Sharpie bleeds through, the copy doesn't. He goes, this is, and I go, give it back. No, I don't care, because they really don't care. They don't. You acknowledge something positive. Make sure it's honest. Don't tell the kid he's doing a great job, because, you know, hey, it was a nice throw when you hit that kid in the head with the pencil. You know, that's not the kind of thing you want to do. But that was one of my great cheats. And you can do it for the parents. You can do it for the kids, and the kid can bring it home. Copying great notes. Highlight success. Everyone likes it. When your principal or your department chair or whoever comes in and says that was a great lesson, they don't ever have to do that. But doesn't that feel good? If it's honest and sincere, doesn't that feel good? And you're big people. Best of wall, you can put student work up there. Positive points. That's part of the plan. I won't be able to get into that tonight. Ideas for reward games. Phone calls. You know, I'm going to buzz past the phone calls, but this is my slide right here. I want to make sure that I'm very clear about this. Always, always, always. Don't ever disparage a kid in a conversation. If you need to say something negative because your ear's about to pop off your head and you want to bring your best pal Yvette into the room and close the door and go, oh, yeah, I just hate that kid. You don't hate the kid, but you may just want to say that once out loud to see what it feels like. But then you're done. Don't, because if you believe that, then the kid's going to know. You don't want to do that. If you need to vent for a moment, vent for a moment. My point in this, I don't care if you're in a team meeting with a counselor, with a parent, with other kids, always speak out of concern for the child, because you don't lose those. When I call home and I say, hey, Lori hasn't been doing her homework. Well, she says you don't put the homework on the board, and she says you're unfair with, ma'am, I understand your concern. I'm very concerned too. She doesn't do her homework and she's having an issue. Well, the whole issue about the homework is because it's hard. Okay, but the homework is written on the board. We have a homework person who reads it at the beginning of class and the end of class, and we ask for questions. So I really want to find a way to help her. And I know we want to do this together. So how do we help her do this? Well, I suppose, right. Only the most struggling, troubled person, and again, not a negative, some people are at a point where they just can't do it at that moment, are going to keep coming back at you. Don't make it a contest of wills between you and the parent, because you're going to lose. And it's not about that. It's about helping Lori, right? Lori needs to do her homework. Lori needs to be able to learn and grow. And what do we do to help Lori do this? Not, you know, well, my mom says I don't have to listen to you anymore. Oh, that's just great. That's because I went at mom, right? And that doesn't make no sense whatsoever. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I like my cartoons because it's true. This is the hardest part sometimes. And when you don't feel supported, this is when it becomes an issue. All of you are educated, rational adults. I don't know you at all. I know you this much from Zoom. But if you don't feel supported, that's when happens when you start to raise your voice, when you start to say things that may not be, probably shouldn't have said that, but I don't know what else to do because nobody's helping me. This kid keeps doing this. I'm not getting the support from the dean of students, Mr. Lautrec. I don't know what to do. That's when, but you have to, and this is a very condescending phrase, but I'm going to say it because I say it to myself, you got to be the adult in the room. You got to be the adult in the room. You got to be the voice of reason, even if it's coming at you hard. You have to, and then try to get that support. I'm going to pass these. Okay. I would love to show you this, but I think it's more important that I go over this. I don't know how this is going to play out, but here's what happens. So again, it is not one size fits all. It is not, oh, I'm going to use exactly as Lautrec does because it worked for him. It did work for me. But I learned this as a lead cantor assertive discipline piece. Then I adjusted it for myself. Then I've adjusted it over the years, and I've helped people do it for themselves. But the basic premises of these is what works. I love that cartoon. Don't do that.
That is hilarious. That cartoon is hilarious.
I really
5 minutes with Mr. Whiskers.
I think I've been using that one for probably 20.
I've never not okay, Gary.
No, not okay. Okay, so here we go. What I'm going to do is have you look at. Oh, I gotta get out. Oh no, I don't. I can do. Oh, I guess I can. No, I won't do that. Are you still seeing the modeling page?
Yes.
Okay. I need to do this. I want to get that link so you can just follow along with the one sheet I'm talking about. I believe the permissions should be set up. If not, please let me know right away. All right. Here we go. So, chat. Okay. See if you can access that. And that way you'll have the one sheet. Again, this is not a sheet. If you go in and just try to throw this together tomorrow, you're going to call me back and go and email me and go, you don't know what you're talking about. What the hell is that? That didn't work. It's not about a sheet or about, one time through it and then you make it work for your classroom.
It says you need access.
Oh, I thought I gave everybody access. Okay, hang on. Coming. Let's see. It should be. Okay. Well, wait a minute. It doesn't let you make a copy?
When you click on the link, it just comes up and says you need access.
Oh, so okay. So I tried to do it so you could all make your own copies. Well, that didn't work out so well. Now, did it?
We can also send things out to people afterward if that's easier.
Yeah, and yeah, because I have slides that have this on there. You know what?
Do you want to show us what it is at least, and
well,
we can get it up?
That's what the slides have it on there. So don't sweat it. In other words, it's one sheet, but let me see if I can do this. Okay, I'm gonna try this right now. Because it's again, it's not the be all and the end all, but to take a piece of it, it would be great. Let's see. All right. Tell me what you're seeing. Decorum and manners.
Decorum manners. Yep.
Beautiful. Okay. So this is one of the sheets. This is the main piece of the behavioral, if you will, piece. Right. And I have a paragraph to the students and parents. I have classroom rights. In other words, the rules, the expectations. I call them rights because they are everyone's right to do. And we need that in order to have our class function properly. I have possible rewards to encourage behavior. And I have, should a student choose not to, oh, that should say on time. That this one is for time. It should just say follow expectations. Okay. We go over this. You must teach your expectations as content. My analogy is if you're a math teacher and you teach the quadratic formula once, do you ever have to teach it again or review it again? Yep. Don't think because behavior is or expectations and interactions are normal and to you because of the way either you already learned them because you're an adult now, or you've been teaching for a long time, or the way your parents raised you. That's what is it? Teach it as content. You know, yes, you're not supposed to talk. You knew that. We went over it once. Okay, but we have to reinforce this. We have to make sure we understand why we're doing this and get back to it. Again, it sounds like I'm saying, oh, let them do what they want. Oh, I'm not. I was an extremely strict teacher. I became more restorative in later years because I loved my kids. I mean, I did anyway. I love my kids like you do as well. But when I got some skill behind it, then I was able to truly be better for them. When you're raising your voice to a kid, everyone in the classroom is going, what the heck is going on? I don't feel comfortable here. You might not be afraid and you might not be, but you're like, what is this? No, I'm not doing that. Not to you or the class. So you teach it as content. You give it to the parents. Everyone has to understand it. The administration understands it, and you know, and they know how you're going to implement this. Okay. Let me go to the slides now. So you saw the sheet, and I apologize for the sharing. I thought I did it right. I was all proud of myself. That didn't work out so well. Now did it. Okay. You're seeing the modeling page again? Okay, good. All right. So warning consequence binder. The reason I show you this before I tell you about anything else is when you do this, a type of plan like this, and this is where you log your things, this becomes very Pavlovian. I had a student teacher in 8th grade at Classical Magnet in Hartford, and he was starting to teach, and I was still in the room, and he turns to me at one point, he goes, they're still talking. They're not stopping. And I said to him, pick up the binder. Huh? Pick up the binder. He picks it up, turns it around, and they see the red or pink sheet, and nobody said a word. It was because of the way I set it up. And it was firm, fair, consistent. It's not a punishment. It's not ugly and awful, but they knew. And then I had to tell him, though, now you've got to follow through on your own. You've got to make sure that if you're going to use the same system I used, you've got to be consistent and do it, because you can't just flash the binder around. Pretty soon they're going to go, oh, he just does that. He doesn't really do anything, right? But you want to keep records of it so you remember. As soon as you forget a consequence, kid's going to be like, Latrix a sucker. Do whatever you want, and he's going to forget about it anyway, which I would have. Teach him his content, begin to teach it first day of school, or when you do your revisit, and teach him as a content as you would any other content. All right, here are my 5 rules. I only have 5. There are school rules, like when the hoods were mentioned. If hoods are a school rule, kids have to follow it, right? You don't have to make it a classroom rule. You don't want to have more than 5 rules as a rule, because it's too hard to remember what's going on in this class, right? So 3 to 5 is fine. They need to be specific enough to be, for instance, you notice you don't see one of these up here that says be respectful, right? Because as I said before, in Yvette's house, respect means this. In Emiliana's house, respect with her friends means that. If, you know, in my friend group, it means that it's got to be observable, right? So if you tell let's just say you issued a consequence, or you have to talk to a parent or an administrator, and you say, well, she was disrespectful. Well, what does that mean? Well, she was talking. Well, when was she talking? I mean, like, oh, it's someone else was talking. Okay, yeah. So be specific, right? These are my 5 rules. The only rule I really need is that first one. Follow directions first time given. I tell them that. And again, if I were modeling this, I show you my verbiage. And it's one thing that people, when they do the evaluation at the end, usually they say the modeling was effective. But I'm not going to, it won't play out here. If I do that now, it'll just be more, I think I might confuse you more. You go over the examples. You go over the classroom rules. I involve the students. They read them. I explain each one. Do not have an expectation or a rule without a reason for it. I used to have, and I didn't make it one of mine that I wrote down, but I used to have no gum chewing in my room. And that sounds like old school teacher. It was for 2 reasons. One, we do a lot of discussing in the room, and I don't, and then when Oedipus said that his mom was, I don't want that. 2, I taught in a room with carpet. So when gum got on the carpet, it's ruining the room, and that's my home away from home. So if you don't have a reason for a rule, don't have a rule. Are there any questions in the chat or aloud on any of the rules that I have.
With the raising your hand before speaking out or getting out of your seat,
Yep.
when if it's more or less a relaxed environment, you still encourage that in your class?
Yes, I start actually, I use that pretty much all the time anyway. And here's why. My reason for that rule: raise your hand, wait to be called on, to ask permit and ask permission. Otherwise, they go, "I'm going to the bathroom," and they keep walking with their hand up. Is one, it's a respect factor, right? Because there's Julia who wants to throw something away, just be a wonderful person. And then, but Linda was answering a question, and everybody's watching Julia walk to, scrape her chair out from the desk and walk over to the garbage can, put it. She didn't mean to do anything wrong, but now we don't know what Linda said, and we missed it. So we got to start again. Also, it means you can't talk to each other without direct permission, right? So if we're doing silent writing workshop, if we're doing reading time, if we're doing seminar discussion, and you're talking to your partner, you're breaking rule number 3. You're not raising your hand and wait for permission, right? So I do that. Once we get into discussions and such, we stop raising our hands, but it's very clear. And Lori, I love that, because why not? Expectations are rules, and verbiage matters. And I've changed a lot of mine too. It doesn't have to be this whole, oh, we're hurting their feelings, we're saying rules and saying that. It's not really that. It really is an expectation. Live up to it. It's you keep it as positive as you possibly can. You're living up to expectations, right? You're not following rules. Yeah, you are a little bit, but whatever. The expectation in my neighborhood is stop at that stop sign on top of the road, because that cop is going to give me a $60 ticket, right? Rule, expectation, whatever. So it can be considered negative. Again, I don't, in my later teaching years and my dean of students years, I'll flow and go. If it makes it better for kids and the environment of the school, great. My mother taught me years ago, she was a teacher. She said, hey, when you're correcting something, if it's like a pointed test, don't write -2, -2, -2, write +2, +2, +2, and leave the other ones blank, and then say at the top, 88. So as positive as you can get, why not? It doesn't hurt. I mean, you're really not sacrificing anything by calling them expectations and rules. And if there's something that really gets you though, and you're like, hey, come on. Like people used to say, why do I have to say please maybe in a sign or something like that? I say, well, I don't know. You don't have to, but why not? You wanted to follow it. Either way, I understand all the nuances behind that. But if I told you how I mean, when I'm in my classroom, my kids didn't blink without my permission. And they knew I cared about them, loved them, and all that. And one of the parts too is, this is not a part of this workshop directly, but your instruction has to be engaging too, because that does several things. One, it's effective, research-based, relationship building. Everybody from, I'm actually teaching a course at the University of Hartford right now, and it's about the theorists like Vygotsky and all and Dewey. It's all about developing learning, right? So one, that's that. But two, you have interesting lessons. I don't mean fun, it can be fun, but interesting lessons. That shows you care about the kids too. Giving them a worksheet, which sometimes, okay, you got to crank out some stuff. You got to do a first draft for me. Yeah. But make it as engaging as possible, because that shows you care as well. And guess what? When they're engaged and and know that you care, they're less apt to not follow those expectations. And as I said, skill, not will. If they can, they will. And if they're cranking out some stuff and they're having this great engaging conversation, they're not throwing pencils. They're in it. And then when you go, hey, whoa, you can't be doing, oh, sorry, I'll try, boom, because they know you care. If you're behind your desk, and again, I'm not impugning anyone here. If you're behind your desk on your phone or on your computer, and not that there's not a moment for that when kids are involved in a real workshop activity or whatever, or taking a test, whatever. But if that's a common thing, when your students are doing what they're doing and you're not engaging with them, I used to say to teachers, if a kid can be on your phone and get all the stuff done you want done, what's going on? My classroom was too busy to be on their phones. And again, it was pre-COVID, but phones were a thing. And I didn't have a phone issue because we were too busy. I called on it as well, but had to. Getting close. Yes, ma'am. Engaging, blah, blah, blah. Do you think the kids saw you as a father figure? No, but I was a domineering figure. When I started teaching, I was 6'2", 220 weightlifting black belt. I got 3 days of street cred before I even walked through the door. But I don't know. I know because I had colleagues who were females, and one of my best pals, she was 10 years older than me. She's 5 foot nothing, 102 pounds, couldn't even give blood. And she had as much, if not more, respect from the students than I did. It's all the things you do, right? It's not doesn't come off as you do care about your kids. Don't be afraid to show them. But one way to show you care is to have expectations, to be able to say no. And when they say, well, I'm not doing that, then to have a plan, not a yell, a shout, a scream, or get out of my room, right? And it's easier said than done, but that's why we are talking what we're talking about. Remind kids of expectations, review them a lot. Hanging wall poster, yep, paper, good, yep. Elementary, even more so, but don't discount middle and high. They're still human beings and they're learning and their minds are spinning too. Make it part of what you do. You can review expectations every single day for 2 weeks, and then once a week going forward. And you might have when you come back from vacation or a long weekend, hey, class captains, go over their expectations, okay? Let's make sure we're all set to get going again. Boom. Don't make it a poster on the wall and it never is heard from again. Behave that I've been homeroom teacher. Yep. Okay, so these are some rules. These are some of the rewards. Some people don't believe in rewards and consequences. I lived by them. Again, I made them more restorative and I made them more effective and functional, but I did live by them. As I said, I worked with one guy who had none and he was beautiful. I couldn't do it. I needed this. Positive notes, I showed you some of that. Positive phone calls home, great stuff. I do a positive point sheet for the whole class. Some people do marbles in a jar. Some people do felt little whatevers. Some people do a thermometer. The only thing I'll say about that, I won't get into big about the positives, but one, you can use whatever points or marbles you drop in or points you put up, you can use it to reinforce. Like when you give rule number 3 about raising hands and Gladys raises her hand, you go, Gladys, thanks for the hand. You go put up a class point, bam. And then she, everyone in class in the back of their heads are like, oh, I guess that really does matter. It's a physical and visual manifestation of rule number 3. Linda, you have a question?
Yeah. So if you do like a class reward, let's say as a whole class, they've worked towards something, and you get one, can I without being perceived as a bad person, say you get one knucklehead? Nope. that kind of like sabotages it? Does the whole class lose the reward, or do you deal with one knucklehead? Nope.
First of all, positive points, positive marbles, positive whatevers, never take them back. They don't, because they'll never earn it, right? Somebody is going to mess up because kids mess up, right? And they're never going to earn it. And then it's going to be this thing, right? Also, think about it this way. You just worked for 2 weeks. You're going to get a check. But if you mess up in week 3, they're not going to go back to week 1 and 2 and take away some of your money, right? They may dock your pay because you really messed up and you got to go home one day without pay. Forbid that ever happens. What a horrible example. But you don't ever take it away. And it doesn't matter. If I used to do these points, right? And it was arbitrary as heck. And they would get 10 minutes of free time, 5 minutes of free time, a conversation of their choice. It wasn't, oh, can we watch a movie? I'm like, are you crazy? 90 minutes because you're doing what you're supposed to do. But again, when I model this and role play it, I tell them, I say, I want to catch you doing it right. So the positives, no, it doesn't matter if little Johnny's, throwing pencils, but if everything else went well that day, or when it was going well, you put up 2 points, they keep those 2 points, right? And so you might have to deal with little Johnny. He's like, Johnny, that's a warning bone. You just talk to him outside. You're going to hurt somebody. Whatever. But no, he doesn't affect the class in respect to taking away something they're working toward. Right? Did that answer your question, Linda?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, all right. You got it. I love questions. I get to talk to. There are people on this Zoom. And this is something I've changed a little bit too. But I needed something. And so here, this is old school. This is what I used to use. It was pretty heavy because you gonna come, right? Here's what I use now. And I used it for my teachers. And I will say this. Let me find the one I actually use. There are variations, and depending on if you're a PBIS school, if you're first grade versus ninth grade, it might alter, but really not too much. I mean, like, look at this. You could just do warning, quiet chair, thinking chair, call home, we teach. And the call home, let me get to this so you can look at this while I say this. Oh, wait, where'd it go? Where's the short, this one? We used it after buses, but I'll keep this one up. You can take a look at that while I'm saying this. Don't, and I don't usually tell people to do, but I'm telling you what to do. Do not threaten a call home as part of a punishment. Don't do it. Because one, actually there's several points. One, you don't know what the home is. You might have just hit something where that kid goes, oh my God, I'm going home to hell. They're going to blow up. And when I say blow up, not blow up like my mom and dad, they might blow up a different way, right? It's also a threat. And the more important part is, let's think about why you're calling home. You're calling home to support that child. The support may be to have them start to do their homework consistently. The support may be, he's really got to stop talking while other people are talking, right? The support may be, look, he needs to really start to talk more about this, whatever it is. You're calling home to help that student be better in your class and better as a person and student. That's what you're doing. I call home, and I used to tell my students this all the time, especially as dean of students, and I did a whole lot of calling home. I call home for two reasons: to inform or support. That's it. I'm not calling home to get you in trouble. I'm not calling home because you deserve this call home. Not doing that. And I'm not putting the parent in that spot either. Your kid did this. What are you going to do about it? Make sure he doesn't do it tomorrow. What? Who are you? Don't tell me how to parent. Inform or support. And you're going to get me in trouble, mister. Look, I have to call home because I took you out of class for more than half the class period. If you were my kid and they didn't call home and I know you missed half a class, I'm going to have a problem with that school. To inform or support. That's it. You know, do I have to call you home again, Jen? Oh, God, don't do that. And don't ever do anything like that in front of other kids either. Don't do any of this out loud in front of other kids. It's the surest culture killer in the world is, and did I tell you once already? Oh, boy. And that's a warning. You're shouting instead of doing a system where it's a little signal or a quiet word to and, right? Don't do those things. There. I hope that was taken the right way. So here we have, and I really mean this, it was 2 minutes after school. And 6 of my high school teachers did this the year I started doing voluntary workshops with them. And they did it for tardy for the most part. And then some things in class, a couple of teachers. Kids stopped. Because what happens is this. I'm talking about support, and this is why you got to get the administration on your side, right? Thank you, Lori. Kid earns their 2 minutes, right? They weren't ready at the beginning of class, and they got a private verbal warning, and then they talked out of turn, whatever, and they got 2. Okay, so that student knows, because we've been over it, because we posted it, because mom signed it, because we've reviewed it, because it's on the wall and in the notebooks, that kid is going to come for 2 minutes before the buses. Now, I taught in a magnet school. You could not keep kids after. If you kept kids after, it was a monster deal. And you people from New Britain, I taught in Enfield, and we had a lot of your students. That's an hour bus ride, or 45 minutes at least. And parents ain't coming to pick their kid up for a 15-minute detention, right? And who wants to do 2, whatever. Point is, we would make sure the kid didn't miss the bus. They would run up and see Miss Benevento, and they would say, oh, well, what happened today? And you have those 3 questions. What was the issue? Well, I was talking. Okay, so why is that an issue? Well, because Gladys was answering a question and Anne couldn't hear what she was saying. And okay, so what do we do about it? Well, I got to stop. So do you need any help from me? What support do you need from me to make sure tomorrow goes well? And you have the conversation, okay, and it's not even like 2 minutes is up. It's just the kid had to go out of his or her way, or out of their way, couldn't go to the buses with their friends, had to go see Mr. Lautrec, and then had to get down to the buses because we solved the issue, we hope, and we'd start again fresh the next day. Boom. Kid doesn't serve. Comes in next day. And I say, Chanela, what happened? She goes, well, I forgot. I said, okay, well, now you owe me 4 minutes, okay? So it's 2 today, 2 tomorrow, or 4 today. We'll make sure you don't miss the bus, but make sure you come. Okay, Ms. Lautrec. Or she may say, I'm not coming. I said, well, that's your choice, but you know what I told you about how it works, right? And so what I set up with the administration and I did it for my teachers is, so Chanela doesn't show up for the second one. And because the teacher's trying to keep it in-house, it's your student. You want to keep the issue, you want to solve it with the kid. So now I get a MDO or a major disciplinary offense or whatever read up to the office, right? Or get called for support by the behavior tech, whatever it is. And so I assign whatever I assign. It might be 10 minutes out of lunchtime. It might be a lunch attention. It might be whatever your school might do. And guess what? She still has to serve the original 2 minutes for the teacher. You're not getting around the teacher because the whole point is you two have to work this out. But Mr. Lautrec, I like him better. I don't care. Yeah, then you can like me all you want. You're going to get your consequence from me respectfully. That's fine. But you're also going to go back and serve with Miss Leone for the 2 minutes because you got to work that out. And once I did that, by October, I wasn't writing anything to the office almost ever. Sure, kids would pop off once in a while, but they all understood. This is how we do it. It's private, firm, fair, consistent. It's quiet. It's you. You handle your responsibilities. If not, you handle the restorative consequences and come talk to me for that time. And then we're done. Boom. Check it off in the book. Come in fresh the next day. Don't worry about a thing. Let's start. Let's learn. Let's dig in and engage. Bam. And so when I did it that way, and when I was supportive of teachers in that way, kids understood. And this part, it is a learning process, but it's also like, well, I can't get by Miss Leone. I got to talk to her anyway, so I might as well just go the 2 minutes, which is what I tell the kids. I said, what's the smart thing to do? Serve the 2 minutes. Yeah, that's fine. So that, in the non-modeling sense, is the essence of that part of the plan. Again, a lot of positives behind it. A lot of phone calling home to connect relationships with the parents. It's not just the quick warning system, because a parent who doesn't know you, kid doesn't think you care about them, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle even with this. But that's one of the cruxes of this, with the positives, with the engaged instruction, with the parents. Yeah, oh, come on in and see them if you want to come in and see them do something in class. Let me know. These are the pieces that truly helped me become creative, because then when I was doing something ridiculous, like I used to come in shorts and take my shoes and socks off, put sandals on and a toga, put a mop on my head, and I was Antigone, and we'd do some stuff, and then the kids would follow. But if a kid messed up while I'm doing that, was talking or doing something wasn't supposed to do, I didn't have to stop and say, that's it, I'm not doing it. I would just give the kid a warning, even as Antigone. I'm like, that's one. And the kid knew, bam, done. And we go on with class. Almost no time lost in learning. Okay. Wow. I've outdone myself. I'm exhausted. Just kidding. So yeah, Jen, go ahead and then pepper me and then let us know what you want.
Yeah.
Next.
So I just wanted to point out what Lori mentioned in the chat, that in elementary the kids want to have lunch, and I think that because again, then you can turn that into a positive. If kids do the right thing, then they get to have lunch with you. I think that's lovely. You know what I mean? I think people are often inspired by joyful things instead of just trying to avoid consequences. So I think that's spectacular. I did just want to ask, and I'll let you guys sort of pepper Gary with any questions you have, but I feel like we touched on a lot of different things that we could have further conversation on. And I would appreciate if you guys could do me a favor, take 1 minute and type into the chat, and I'm going to go through it. What other kind of workshop you would like. I know a lot of you are from New Britain. I know that you will come specifically for PD from the state federation. Gary has a lot of great ideas and a lot of great skill sets, and he and I have been talking about what people want, but it's much easier just to sort of ask you guys what you want. Would you like more on culturally responsive teaching? Would you like more on restorative practices? Would you like more specifically on behavior management? If you could do me a favor and type into the chat whatever, kinds of trainings or workshops you're interested in, I think that will help us make sure that what we're presenting to you is purposeful as well. Managing behavior. Okay. Oh, and Gary has a feedback sheet for you as well.
And this is a forum, so you should be able to get right into it. And if you can't, yell at me right now, because oh my gosh, is this right? Is that not working correctly? Somebody click in there. And the reason is, it keeps churning. What's going on?
Because it's no longer collecting responses.
Oh, that's fantastic. Why would I not collect responses from people I care about? Look at this. Hold on, I'll get this. uh, because I really, especially this one, and I will, not that you need this egging on, but I need to find out how this went, because again, the online piece was new-ish, or it's been a minute is what I really want to say. And why I can't find this.
So Gary, if it's helpful at all, I do have a link for a survey that I'm not sure if it's going to ask what you want it to, but if you just wanted to provide a space for people to be able to write some feedback, I can throw that into the.
Yeah, I'm so bummed. I had it all laid out, and this is the first critique. LawTrek should figure out how to work on Zoom again. Jeez.
Do you want me to put it
technology. I'm good with it usually. Damn it. Send in an email. Do you have all their emails?
Yeah, we have everybody who registered. So yeah, I can send anything you want to them. Do you want to send a feedback survey to?
Yeah, what I'll do then, if this is okay, Jen, is I will recreate that and find out what's what. Send it to you, make sure it works through you, and then we can send it out in an email to everybody. Because I really do want to know, like, was this too much yapping? Was this the slideshow not effective? Do you need more materials on hand? Do you want it in person? Whatever you need. It does matter to me. And again, my email is where am I? Boom, I'll put it up again. There. You feel free to email me if you want any of these materials, because don't recreate the wheel. You can use it exactly as is. You can alter it any way you want, or you can chuck it and say, bump this, it's not going to work. If it helps you help the kids and makes your life easier, it's yours. Oh, the IEP and as federal law. Are you
I was just going to ask Anne a little bit more about
yeah,
that.
go ahead, because I have the same questions on it. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Anne, not to put you on the spot, but
Yes.
Anne and I are friends.
Yeah.
Anne and I spend a lot of time on Zoom with each other. So if you don't mind me asking, following the IEP and the 504 as federal law, tell me a little bit more about what you would want in that training.
So there are a lot of kids with an IEP or a 504, and many people don't even know that that exists within their profile, never mind knowing exactly what is inside the IEP, what changes in the IEP or the 504. And then you get scrutinized for not following one or the other, and just how it becomes, and how does a 504 turn into an IEP at some point, and just the many nuances between what special education and what is an accommodation. And there's a lot of questions to be asked about it, and how does it happen, and how do you follow it, especially if you're not given access to it. I know within our own IEP, you can click on it and read it within the person's profile, but the 504 you cannot. It's there designating that they have a 504, but you have no idea what's inside of it. And that's a real problem.
Okay, so I think one of the things that we can do, and again, like, it's difficult because I don't get to control what districts do, but what I can help do is create the understanding and the expectation amongst our para educators of what their roles and responsibilities and rights are in terms of their job, and what they should have the right to know, right? Because we could also include in that what the role is in a PPT meeting, how to feel comfortable in that. So we can definitely do something around specifically like roles and responsibilities regarding being knowledgeable about the 504 and the IEPs, and being involved in the PPTs, and what, how you can get that information if it's not being provided for you. Correct. What are some ways we can make sure that you guys have access to the information you need to do your job? Does that sound right, Anne?
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank
that
you.
I can do.
I appreciate you, Gary, by the way. Thank you for your 2 hours of dedication to all of us. I appreciate that.
I hope it was. I hope it was somewhat effective. I know we had some interaction that was good, but boy, this is ask Jen. I'm usually dancing around that room. There's stuff on the walls and there's things going out and da da da. Like yikes!
Gary has a lot of energy, so he did well staying in his seat for 2 hours.
Well, you saw a lot of this.
but I'll also say I just want to lift up something Yvette said, that she really appreciated how much you talked about your concern for children. People really understood that you come from a place of a great deal of love for these kids and wanting to value them for who they are, and that is the impetus for things like managing behavior. It's not about controlling, it's about giving that kid the best support they can get.
Yeah. And it's only right to do so. So I don't want to shout at kids. I used to, not a lot, but when I raise my voice and I could do that because, oh yeah. But no, that's why you're in what you do. And when it doesn't feel that way, that's why we need this kind of thing. And that's why if you do reach out to me, if I can help you, I certainly will, because it is an absolutely beautiful way to spend your life. I get more students. By the way, my first students are 54 years old.
Wow.
And they come and they hug me and they introduce me to their kids and they see me and I'm not online at all, anything like that. I don't have Facebook, nothing like that, because I just never did as a teacher. But if I can help anyone make their job more joyous and their life better, that's what I like to do. And I do love this work. So again, if we can do more of this, heck, New Britain, go back and tell them to hire me in New Britain for a couple of dingers. I'll come and do some instructional coaching, do the thing. Tell you what's
Yeah.
No, whatever
See you
you
tomorrow
need,
morning
let me
at
know.
New Britain High School then, Gary. Come on down.
I'm in. Tell Master Dorian.
we
Tell
could
Master
use
Dorian I'm
that.
coming in. I'm gonna raid the place.
Yeah,
Hey,
okay.
guys. Honestly, though, if you think that this was useful, and I think that the fact that you're all still here right now tells me that you did, because usually by this point people have started clogging off already. If you get any input from your district as in terms of PD and in terms of what would be useful or what you've attended that you've liked, raise this up. Because wouldn't it be nice if all of your coworkers had all of this information as well? It would be lovely, and it would be, when people say what could we use, Gary Lautrec, classroom management is a good foundation for everybody to start with. So you get PD hours by law now, and hopefully you have some say in what you get. So if this was useful for you, raise it up.
Wow, thank you all. It really I'm glad it hit some of you the right way. So that's really good stuff.
So I'm going to ask you guys to keep your eyes out, because Gary and I are going to take some of the information we got from you, and we're going to plan a couple more sessions for a little bit later in the school year. We'll have them going through, hopefully through the end of spring. We'll have a couple of things set up specifically with Gary. So now you know the quality of what you get. We hope you come back for the next one. Thank you so much, Gary.
You are all very welcome. And again, my email's wide open. I got you. Thanks so much. Enjoy and have a great rest of the week.
Bye, guys. Thanks for what you do.